Welcome to Uncensored Conservatism. This is episode number 264. Today we're going to take a look at that wacky world of academia. A lot of shit going on out there. So let's start here in Massachusetts, where the state has issued an $80,000 grant to the University of Massachusetts at Amherst to provide for increased access to contraceptive and abortion services. The state claims that abortion services are essential for student reproductive health. And this is Maura Healey, the batshit crazy liberal governor of the state, who has made abortion access a major part of her agenda. In 2023, she ordered the state to create an abortion toolkit to be used on college campuses. Yes, in Massachusetts, you can get a college education and an abortion. For over 35 years, Brown University's Choice program has been used as a guide for high school, actually all grades, levels, a school history curriculum, not just in Rhode Island, but in other states. However, it appeared that over the years, maps were being changed and events were being altered, especially when it came to the Middle East. When some historical inaccuracies were reported, it was revealed the Choice program was being partially funded by the government of Qatar in the Middle East. Now, Brown has ceased their affiliation with the program, claiming it was a budget cut decision. This might explain partially why students get a slanted view of events in the Middle East. Yale University has stripped their chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine, otherwise they're known there as Yaleys for Palestine, of recognition on campus after they attempted to establish yet another encampment and then targeted and blocked Jewish students from certain areas of the campus. Pro-terrorist demonstrators at Yale also threw water bottles at Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir as he left a lecture at the university. He flipped them the victory sign. He should have flipped them the finger. A recent art exhibit at Central Connecticut State University focused on climate change and featured a musical number by composer Frank Horvath, shown here, called I Am Ice. Seriously. Not the ice that arrests people, but like frozen water. Horvath claims he was inspired to write the piece after a visit to the Arctic where he saw, quote-unquote, a lot of ice melting. Seriously. The worst part about this is these guys funded the exhibit, and we wonder why NASA strands astronauts in space. Faculty, students, and alumni at Columbia University in New York are furious, I tell you, that the university caved into the Trump administration after $400 million in funding was frozen. They were so furious they held a 25-hour event crying about free speech and expression. By the way, Columbia still caved. As you might have heard, also at Columbia, that pro-terrorist demonstrators managed to take over the college library as students were studying for finals. In a very funny twist, the protesters were then locked in the library and NYPD would not allow them to leave without showing ID. 80 people were arrested, and all were Columbia students. And being in New York, Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor there, will probably give them a medal and drop all charges. Pro-terrorist demonstrators at the City College of New York tried to establish a liberated zone encampment at the school when they were confronted by police who ordered them to disperse. Refusing, the demonstrators were doused with pepper spray, whereupon their principals were magically washed away in a hail of tears and coughing. And not to be outdone, agitators at Brooklyn College created a pro-terrorist encampment flying a Palestinian flag. When ordered to take down the tents, they refused, and police moved in with force and even tased some students. Like their counterparts in Gaza, some of the demonstrators had children, so I guess that's their new tactic to hide behind kids. Kind of disgusting. Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, canceled an appearance by some singer named Kalani, who has been quite vocal about her sympathy for terrorists in Gaza, citing the fact that their annual Slope Day festivities should be free from politics. Kalani can now find a new gig. Thomas Whitehead of Cranford, New Jersey, was arrested and detained at Rutgers University after he apparently assaulted a police officer with a flagpole with a Palestinian banner while protesting outside the Hillel House, a gathering place for Jewish students at Rutgers. I mean, this guy sounds, and that's him there. He's him. He sounds and looks like a real winner, as he was arrested a week previous for demonstrating over God knows what in Jersey City. It should be noted that Whitehead is not a Rutgers student. He instead went to Cornell. Professor Stanley Weiss of Rutgers University announced his resignation from the American Association of University Professors, citing their strong anti-Israeli bias. Their national president, Todd Wolfson, recently held a Zoom meeting of members and laid out their plan of resistance to all things Trump. He then listened to Weiss's resignation, then roundly dismissed his complaints. And it's not just crazy New York. Police at Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania were called in to break up a campus encampment set up by, you guessed it, Students for Palestine, Justice in Palestine. These clowns are everywhere. I mean, 7 people were arrested, but only 2 were students at the college. The college cracked down after receiving concerns from the FBI that they were organizing people outside the college on Instagram. This is Rishi Aaron. He's the president of Students for Justice in Palestine at Temple University in Philadelphia. During a webinar to honor a convicted cop killer, Mamua Abu Jamal, he said the silent part out loud, that liberating Palestine will end American capitalism. With these nutcases, it's about everything, not just supporting some terrorists. Johns Hopkins University in Maryland has confirmed that 37 of their students had their student visas revoked by the State Department. Specific reasons for the revocations were not given by the government, said one unnamed affected student. This proves America is an authoritarian regime. Yeah, go tell that to the mullahs in Iran or the sheiks in Qatar or the ragheads in Gaza. George Mason University in Virginia recently referred a student's essay to the FBI and state officials that seemed to suggest violence against the Trump administration, saying we should first try political means. People may have to kill them if it comes to that. The student confirmed that they were interviewed by the Secret Service. In North Carolina, Duke University Press has been called out for running 2 anti-Israeli articles in their publications. Both articles use the common from the river to the sea nonsense that suggests the destruction of the state of Israel. Making matters worse, one of the articles was penned by an anonymous author. Such bravery. Clemson professor Michael Gregory recently penned an article which said that regulating online speech by the government is good for free speech. This clown is a philosophy professor. I guess he never heard of the First Amendment, and this passes for scholarship in 2025. Students of Florida International University are reporting that they are scared because the college entered into an agreement with ICE to deport illegal immigrant students. One illegal from El Salvador, who remained nameless, of course, said they avoid going to certain places on campus because the cops might be there. Well, they should have been afraid when their parents brought them illegally across the border. I mean, seriously, tough shit. The Divinity School at Vanderbilt University in Tennessee announced that they will continue their 5-month intensive series of lectures and workshops for graduate students extolling the virtues of queer liberation. Okay, so Rachel Heath is the program director, and listen to this jumble of words she created. Quote, the program focuses on the intersections of theories of multiplicity, queer and feminist thought, affect theory, and interfaith praxis in U.S. contexts. Jesus Christ. That's a word salad that gives Kamala a run for the money. Translation, Jesus was an immigrant and maybe transgender or gay. The University of Louisville had to pony up $1.6 million to former professor Alan Josephson, a psychiatrist who voiced his opposition to gender ideology. As head of their child and adolescent psychology program, he knew a thing or two and said that gender-affirming interventions cause more harm than good. So good for him. Just sue these idiots out of existence. Elsewhere at this university, officials announced they will not be holding a separate lavender graduation for the college's gay or transgender students this year. Instead, students may wear rainbow cords on their hats to signify solidarity with the gays, the freaks, and the lesbians. Isn't a separate graduation ceremony for students just another name for a gay bathhouse? I don't know. Anyway. Well, you knew this was going to happen, which all but guarantees that something else will happen again. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel dropped all charges against 7 pro-terrorist demonstrators at the University of Michigan from a protest last year. In further proof that the left has to create Kamala-style word salads, Sam Sharp, I don't know what that one is, of Kansas State University recently attended a symposium at the University of Wisconsin. Gave a lecture titled, okay, ready, wait for it, Facilitating Intersex Embodiment Through Inclusive STEM Pedagogy. To summarize, the belief that there are only males and females, that outdated binary shit, it's based on eugenics. And yes, this is a picture of whatever the hell it is. Statistics students of Yali Ahmet at the University of Chicago were thrilled to learn that they did not have to take a final or midterm exam this past semester, provided they show up and show proof that they attended an anti-Trump rally instead. So a selfie at a demonstration means you can now use the tools of statistics. Go figure. Might explain a few things. Students at Dakota State University are protesting the fact the college is bestowing an honorary degree on Homeland Security official or Secretary Kristi Noem, who also happens to be a former governor. She was invited to speak at the graduation ceremony, and some students are hoping others from the surrounding area join them in their protest because, Trump. Well, Leo Aquino, shown here, right here, I don't know, it's transgender, I don't know, gave their lecture at Iowa State University. In that lecture, they told the throngs that your success in life, or lack of success, should never be questioned because it is not your fault. It's the fault of the underlying system, which just happens to be capitalism. They never really lay out an alternative other than excuses, but I assume it's going to be socialism. Law students at UCLA rose up in opposition to Professor Richard Sander for having the audacity to oppose race as a consideration in college admissions. We've come full circle, and George Orwell would be happy. If I understand this correctly, not considering race for college admissions is now racist. Up the road a bit at the University of California at Davis, they are holding their separate graduation ceremony for black students, or as they phrase it, those who identify as members of the great African diaspora. Yeah, whatever. Sounds like segregation to me. Back at good old UCLA last year saw ugly pro-terrorist demonstrations at the college where a rabbi was assaulted. An encampment was erected declaring it a Jew-free zone, and hundreds were arrested. A year later, all charges have been dropped except for 2, Eden On and Matthew Katz. In case you cannot tell, they are both Jewish and both pro-Israel, so go figure in Los Angeles. I know, the surprise. The University of California in Berkeley is being investigated by the Education Department amid allegations of undisclosed foreign financial assistance with a university connected to the Communist Chinese government. The university ended the cooperative agreement in February, but that's not stopping the feds from investigating. And finally, this is Professor Patrick Mahoney, a self-described communist, in which you can tell by that pin there, who in February, with purple lips, assaulted a student by punching him repeatedly, throwing him to the ground, and using profanity outside of an off-campus bar for wearing a baseball cap that said, Trump 2024, Take America Back. The good professor was suspended by Washington State University, but is soon set to return to classes. And yeah, you did do fucking something wrong. Anyway, that's it. Have a great day. More pleasant tomorrow.